In today's video, we're going to be talking all about reflections from 2025. This is such a great time of year to think about what happened last season and then to reflect on that and gain insights from it so you can move into 2026 with fresh insights, with an improved plan, with an understanding of what to change, what worked, and go from there. So I'm going to show you a little bit of my farm, kind of like wins, what worked, what didn't work, and what I'm doing different going forward, and help you think through how to do this for your own farm, because obviously it doesn't really matter what happened on my farm. What really matters is how you can apply this to your own situation and your own farm. So I like to do this every year. I reflect on my farm. I've done, kind of some different methods, but I just always find it really helpful, no matter what method I do, to really carry me forward into the next season with momentum. So as you're planning for 2026 crops, don't forget to just take a pause and reflect on what happened in 2025 so you can make 2026 even better and more profitable. So first I'm going to talk about what worked in 2025. This isn't necessarily in like a particular order. So here we go. What did work was selling exclusively to florists. That's what I do. I sell to florists. I really don't have a retail sales outlet or basically sell any other way. And that worked. I also sell to the market in Chicago, the Chicago Flower Market, and I started doing that in the end of the season, and that also worked. That's through a market, and then that gets sold to florists. Most of my sales were direct to florists, directly from my farm to the florist, and that worked. And actually, if you want to know more about that, I have a whole course about it. But if you just want my tips, I have a download free tips for selling flowers to florists, and you can grab that and figure out my tips for doing that. What else worked in 2025? So I have been adding perennials to my farm pretty significantly, and those perennials are getting more and more mature. And as the saying goes, the first year they sleep, the second year they creep, and the third year they leap. And that is definitely true. So some of my perennials are in their third year, and that was just so exciting or even their second year and really starting to produce a little bit. And so it was just really great to see an abundance of harvests from some of the perennials that I've invested into, and that's working really well. One of the perennials in particular that was really great was Baptisia, and I sold out of the foliage, so that was just really great. So that's just one example of one of the perennials that's worked. That one particular variety is 3 years old, and it just was a really rock solid seller. When you have a kind of foliage that a florist says, yeah, I'll take 4 or 5 bunches of that basically standard every week, and you can sell that foliage for weeks and weeks, you're selling a whole lot of stems just to one florist. So just thinking through that really worked. Another one that really worked with was raspberry and blackberry greens, kind of the same thing as the Baptisia foliage. I planted them, I think, in 2024. And so this was kind of the first year I was even able to harvest off of them. They're not super robust yet. It was just a really, really great seller. Lots of demand on that. The other thing was in the spring, those ranunculus just took the cake. They were such rock solid sellers and producers, and not without any troubles. I've done videos about the ranunculus, but really, really a stunning addition. And that was new because that was the first year with my tunnels. So that's the first year I've ever grown ranunculus. And then just kind of to top it all off, I just felt like spring, May, and June really, really went super well on the whole. So it was just a strong start to the season, and June was really a phenomenal sales month. Other just kind of quick, like, positive wins. We needed a better flower processing area, and we added what we're calling a lean-to. Basically, we just added a roof onto our current walk-in cooler shed. So we added just like a 10 by 15 space, and then a roof, and then we added the patio. We just put the patio in November. So it wasn't functional for the season, but it felt like a big win to get that far, to be able to make the 2026 flower processing area better. It still has some more work to do. We need to get some electrical and different things, but it's going to be better moving forward. So that felt like a big win. Another thing that was a great win was using the paper pot transplanter. That was my second season using that. I used it for more crops. That went super well. It was a major time saver, and just labor saves your body, saves your back. Really great addition. Another quick win we did was our house is in the middle of our property, basically, and then our farm property in different sections basically circumnavigates our property. So it kind of is the perimeter of the whole property and like the whole front yard. So there's lots of sections. It's just like this section and the high tunnel and that section and that section and that section. And then the front has 4 different sections, and this one's perennial and this one's annual and this one's, it just gets really confusing when you're trying to communicate with anybody. So a quick win we did was we named every section and then we labeled every row. So I could just tell my husband, in the main field, row 15, I need that tilled, or, in the front delta area, I need that watered, stuff like that. It was really helpful, really quick win. And so I felt like that led to improved communication and just better understanding. And it was just helpful. It reduced confusion and just really helped communicate between me and my husband and my kids too. Another thing that was a really great win was sales. Sales really felt easy. And I don't mean to say that to discourage you if yours feel really hard. This is my 7th year of flower farming, and it has taken a lot of time and a lot of just it takes time, just year after year. But this year it really truly felt like I wasn't pushing, I just was easily just pulling it in, just bringing it in, and had my systems down for that, as far as communicating and availability and using Rooted Farmer and all that kind of stuff. It just felt easy. I didn't try to get new customers this year. In fact, I had too many. So that was a great thing that worked. And then I just felt like I had some really good, continue to build on some really great relationships with my florists. So just kind of with that in mind, I would just encourage you to take a moment. And I like to write things down. I'm definitely a journaling kind of person, and pen to paper, just think about the big picture, what worked on your farm this summer, and you might get farther than you think. I did, even just with my own reflection, of course. Different things will come up, then you're like, oh yeah, that really did help that we labeled all the rows. We did that this year. I forgot that we did that. That was really great. So I would just encourage you to think about, what sold easily on your farm this year? What felt easy? And just like, what quick wins did you have? Did you improve any kind of a process? Anything like that? Write that down. Okay, and then going into my next section, what felt hard? What didn't work well? In that aspect, it's always good to think about, what did I do wrong? Not to beat yourself up, but just to learn from it and be able to document and see how you can improve and go forward. Because if you don't have a plan for improving, it's not going to change. So what was hard or what didn't work? I didn't plant my spring planted Orlea. That was just a case of, there's a lot of stuff to do in the spring on the farm, and I just didn't get it done. It was on the plan, it had a spot, and I never got it planted. So that was too bad, because I had fall planted Orlea, so I had this beautiful crop of fall Orlea, and all my florists loved it, and they wanted to keep having it, and I just suddenly had none. If I would have spring planted it, it would have gone right into more sales. So definitely missed sales there, because I just didn't do something really quite easy. But that's just how spring goes sometimes. Another thing that really is tricky and difficult is irrigation. Felt really hard. Like I said, we kind of have all these different sections and zones, and we have some pretty good irrigation in certain areas of our farm. And in other areas, we were just lugging sprinklers and moving hoses and unhooking and rehooking all summer long. So that was definitely something that could use improvement. Labor challenges. I'm really at the point where I could really use some consistent labor on the farm. And I had some help, but nothing like super consistent. And then I was trying to just hire someone to weed or do this or that. And there just were some challenges with that, some miscommunications, some assumptions, and there were some it was bumpy. And I really need a part-time farm employee for the size of farm that I am, and for as much as I sell. I really need a part-time, consistent farm employee that can come specifically, on a certain day and come back and have the same tasks. So I didn't have that as consistently as I would like. This year, like I said, I did have some help, but I need to be better, and that just comes down to me prioritizing hiring help and then being a good communicator and delegator. There was a couple of crop struggles. I did talk about I had some pests in my tunnel, but I felt like I was able to scout for that and solve that. But I will definitely be seeking to do better in 2026 on that, be scouting earlier or preventing thrips in my high tunnel by just putting in beneficial insects before I see a problem. Another crop issue I had was my larkspur didn't germinate very well. I think that was just a matter of I had a couple other direct seeded crops later in the season that didn't germinate well, and I think it's just because I didn't consistently water them to get that good germination. So, just things like that happen. I had some sunflowers that got missed or didn't get germinated well because of some of the same issues. I got them planted, or I planted them late and just didn't germinate well because I didn't water them when I should have. Two other things that I want to do better. So these are definitely system things. So I feel like I really have my crops basically dialed in. I'm fine tuning them, but pretty much my crops are dialed in at this point of my farm. What I really am working on is processes and infrastructure things like the irrigation to really get me to a sustainable place. I'm not trying to figure out what crops to grow. I'm trying to figure out how to run the farm and not have the farm run me. These last two things are just kind of more personal things or just things that I wish I could do better at. In 2024, I read and took Lenny Larkin's business course, Flower Farming for Profit, Business Academy, I think the course is called. And then I have her book also, Flower Farming for Profit, which I highly recommend. And I did some really good tracking in 2024 of just tracking my time to figure out profitability like on specific crops. And I did some of that in 2024, and that work is really valuable. And I pretty much didn't do that almost at all in 2025. Like I just didn't prioritize it because I was so pulled in so many directions. And I would like to do better on that in 2026. The other thing is just a family situation is that my children are getting older. I have 5 children and they're getting older. They currently range in age from 2 to 10, and I homeschool them. And we have been in a homeschool co-op called Classical Conversations, kind of on and off in the past 5 years. And we took a break last school year, and this year we're back at it. And basically that community meets on Monday, and it's a parent involved homeschool co-op, which I'm thankful for, and I want to be involved in it, and I want to be there, and I want to be there with my children. But the problem is that our co-op is on Monday, and it starts the week of Labor Day. And that just was a really, really stressful thing because the farm is still going full force in September, and then I'm trying to add homeschooling, and then I'm gone from 8 to 4 on Monday when I really need to be harvesting and delivering down into southern Michigan to get my flowers down to the Chicago Flower Market, and then harvesting all my orders to get delivered on Tuesday. It just was super, super stressful. And if it was only an overlap of a week or two, it would be okay. But it's like 7 weeks, and it just felt really stressful and really unsustainable. And even though I was able to hire people to bring my flowers down to Indiana, I was just randomly like honestly asking whoever I could to drive these flowers down. And my dad did it several times, which was great, but then they weren't always able to be there. And then the people going down there didn't know. It was super, super difficult. And so it's just like a personal thing to realize like these two things might not align. And so I need to have a different process. And basically, I just need to not have those two things on the same day. I was overcommitted on the same day. And even if I have someone go and deliver it, I still need to be able to communicate them. So then I was at my children's co-op on Monday, and I'm just on my phone all morning trying to navigate and communicate and talk to the person driving my flowers down to Indiana. And then when is the exact pickup? It just was super hard. So I didn't like that at all. So that's just like a personal thing. Like these two, my life and my farm, are not working. So something has to change. So that's kind of the end of my what was hard section, what was challenging on my farm this year. And I would just encourage you to think through what was difficult on your farm. Is it a pain point that involves a crop difficulty, or is it a life imbalance problem? Like I feel like I have, just this thing like, do we have to have co-op on Monday, or can we have it on Friday, or is there some other option? Or do I quit selling flowers September 1st, which is not in the plan, but like thinking outside the box, like what systems can you put into place? So thinking more broader than crops, but systems. Can you get an irrigation timer? Can you, what is not working? Because if you can't, identify the problem and then you can't try and solve it, right? This leads me right into what am I doing to change moving forward? So moving forward, I'm not changing my crop plan very much. I'm tweaking things, like I said, but pretty much my crop plan is not changing as far as like adding different crops. So I would like to invest in some kind of a better irrigation system. That's probably going to be pretty involved, but even if I could just figure out how to get that process up and going would be great. I am going to be investing into more perennials, not probably more varieties, but like I want to add more blackberry and raspberry foliage. I already have more baptisia ordered for the spring to come. So stuff like that, like, oh, this perennial is really working and I want more of it. I also have a perennial that didn't work very well, which which I talked about in a different video. So what perennials maybe didn't work, taking those out and adding more of what did work. So I'm adding some more thornless raspberry and blackberry foliage. I'm growing more ranunculus this year. They did really well. I'm going to grow more of them. Other things I want to do is I want to create some SOPs, so some standard operating procedures for things like, I don't know, a lot of things. Just like trying to get myself wrapped around how can I hire an employee and be a good employer and be a good delegator. So making SOPs for how to harvest, these specific crops and like giving them really specific instructions, perhaps video tutorials, using Asana, having some better higher level systems. That's what I am working toward having in 2026. Learning how to delegate, get a part-time employee, have better communications systems on my farm for myself and my husband. I'm also consulting with Michelle Elston from Roots Flower Farm. So I'm doing like a one-on-one consult with her. If you don't know Michelle, you can follow her. She's a member of the Association of Specialty Cut Flowers, and she was the treasurer or something. I don't know. She's written articles for them, done some podcasts, interviews that I've heard. She's just really smart at systems and efficiencies. And so I'm hoping to lean really hard into that and do some one-on-one consulting with her this winter, which I already have set up in order to improve that, because I feel like that's where I really need help, is on these higher level systems and different things. So that's what I'm investing into. There's one other thing that I'm changing on my farm based on all of these things, but I can't share that with you yet because I have to tell my customers about it first. But stay tuned. There is a change coming for my flower farm, which is kind of a big deal, but you'll have to hear about that later. So as you hear this, I just hope that this really encourages you, inspires you to think about, what things can you change on your farm? What do you need to do to make fewer decisions? Do you need to grow less crops? Probably. I probably need to grow less crops. What would make you more efficient? How can you set up for 2026 to be easier? Can you order all your supplies in February, like all your rubber bands, or, stuff like that? That's what I'm trying to think about, what I'm trying to consider, what you can do to change things to be more present and more not I feel like everything lives in my head, and that's why I'm trying to get SOPs and get things written down and in a manual, and so I can delegate. I just went to the Great Lakes Expo and heard Lori Hernandez speak from 3 Acre Farm. She literally lives 3 miles from me. She's great. And her talk was called All the Hats or something, all the time, all the hats, all the time. And I was like, yes, I am the one that does these 50 things on my farm, and that is not sustainable, and especially not at the level that I'm at. I have about an acre in production, and so it's just super overwhelming, and so I'm trying to get those things out of my head. So what can you get out of your head so you're not the only one that knows how to do something? Is there anything you can delegate, any better system that you can put into place? That's what I would encourage you to do. And then finally, just to wrap this up, I did a little bit of a reflection on my YouTube journey, and I posted my first video on YouTube in December of 2024, and I'm recording this on December 30th of 2025. So it's been just over a year on YouTube. And I just want to say what a journey it has been, and how fun this has been, and how much I really enjoyed creating these videos and creating this community on YouTube with over 5,000 subscribers. Not that number really matters, but I just have gotten the kindest, sweetest messages and connected with some great flower farmers, and have emailed with you and done some Zoom calls with some of you. And it just has been very enjoyable and fulfilling, and it's just been really fun to see how it's grown. So I just want to thank all of you for being here and for following along. And I just really appreciate it. If this video was helpful to you, the most meaningful way that you could stay connected with me is if you sign up for my email list. That's where I share even deeper reflections like this, behind the scene farm things, children's shenanigans sometimes, and just some really intentional teaching. So if you want to join that, there is a link in the description. But if you just click to download the free tips for selling flowers to florists, you'll be added to my email list as well. And if you enjoyed this video, I highly recommend that you check out my video of the top 5 flowers that sold on my farm in 2025. It'll just kind of keep the reflection going and give you a recap of what sold the best on my farm. in 2025. And until then, I hope you have a great day. See you next time.